Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, breaking news from the heart of one of the world's most volatile regions, an Israeli military convoy has been destroyed in a deadly ambush, sparking fears of yet another escalation in the already burning Middle East. Details are still emerging, but what we know so far paints a picture of precision, chaos, and deepening conflict. According to early reports, the ambush took place on a key military route near the northern border zone, an area long known for tension between Israeli forces and militant groups operating out of southern Lebanon and Syria. Initial statements from Israeli officials confirm that multiple armored vehicles were hit, and several soldiers have been reported dead or severely wounded. Eyewitnesses described the attack as sudden and devastating. Around midday, a convoy of Israeli Defense Forces vehicles, including troop carriers and supply trucks, was making its way through a narrow mountain pass when explosions erupted on both sides of the road. Within seconds, anti-tank missiles and heavy gunfire turned the quiet valley into a battlefield. Videos circulating online, which Israeli authorities have yet to verify, show thick black smoke rising from burning vehicles. Gunfire echoes through the valley as rescue helicopters circle overhead. One clip appears to show a precision, guided missile strike hitting the lead vehicle and cutting off the convoy's escape route. The attackers, believed to be a well-trained militant unit familiar with the terrain, reportedly used roadside bombs and anti-armor missiles to cripple the convoy before opening fire with heavy weapons. Military analysts are calling it one of the most organized and lethal ambushes against Israeli forces in years. In the hours following the incident, the Israeli army sealed off the entire area, launching drone surveillance and artillery strikes on suspected militant hideouts. Ambulances and medevac helicopters were seen rushing casualties to nearby bases and hospitals. Israeli military spokesmen have vowed a swift and decisive response. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said, "Those who carried out this cowardly attack will face the full force of the IDF. We will strike their command, their infrastructure, and anyone who shelters them." Meanwhile, reports from Lebanese media suggest that the ambush was carried out by a Hezbollah-linked resistance cell, although the group has not officially claimed responsibility. Hezbollah's affiliated news outlets, however, hailed the attack as a heroic operation, adding fuel to speculation that it may have been a retaliation for recent Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon and Syria. If confirmed, this ambush could mark a dangerous new phase in the escalating shadow war between Israel and Iran-backed militias, a conflict that has stretched from Gaza to Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. Let's take a step back for context. In recent months, the Northern Front has become increasingly unstable. Israel has conducted dozens of airstrikes on what it calls Iranian military infrastructure. In Syria, targeting weapons depots and supply routes used by Hezbollah and other groups. These strikes have drawn sharp warnings from Tehran, which has vowed to respond to what it calls Israeli aggression. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has been testing Israel's defenses, launching small-scale rocket attacks and reconnaissance drones across the border. Both sides claim they don't want a full-scale war, but actions on the ground tell a different story. Today's ambush may be the breaking point. The scale of destruction suggests that it wasn't spontaneous, it was meticulously planned, possibly over weeks. Intelligence officials say such an attack would require inside knowledge of Israeli troop movements, signaling a dangerous breach in security. Regional experts are already comparing this to the 2006 Lebanon war, when Hezbollah ambushed an Israeli patrol and captured 2 soldiers, triggering a month-long conflict. The fear now is that history might be repeating itself, only this time with far greater stakes. Inside Israel, the attack has sent shockwaves through the political and military establishment. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has convened an emergency security meeting, calling the ambush an act of war. The Israeli Defense Forces have raised alert levels along both northern and southern borders. In northern towns, residents have been ordered into bomb shelters as tensions skyrocket. The IDF Iron Dome system has been placed on full readiness, and fighter jets are patrolling the skies. Across the region, reactions have been mixed. In Gaza, crowds reportedly celebrated the ambush, chanting slogans against Israeli occupation. In Beirut, the news was greeted with defiant pride by Hezbollah supporters. Meanwhile, Arab governments have remained cautious, urging restraint and calling for de-escalation. The United States has condemned the attack, expressing full solidarity with Israel. A White House statement declared, "Israel has the right to defend itself against terrorist aggression. We call on all regional actors to avoid actions that could escalate this crisis further." Russia and China, both maintaining close ties with Iran, have urged all parties to act with restraint, warning that an expanded conflict could destabilize the entire Middle East. Analysts are now asking the hard questions. How did such a sophisticated ambush happen under Israel's watchful eye? With its advanced surveillance systems and constant patrols, how did militants manage to strike so effectively? Some point to the possibility of intelligence failures or worse, the overextension of Israel's forces as it juggles operations in Gaza, the West Bank, and Syria simultaneously. Others argue that Israel's enemies are adapting, using new tactics, advanced weaponry, and local knowledge to outmaneuver even the most modern army. What makes this incident even more significant is that it may have been filmed by the attackers themselves. Reports suggest that several drone cameras captured the ambush from multiple angles, a propaganda tactic increasingly used by militant groups to showcase their capabilities and demoralize opponents. If those videos are released publicly, they could further inflame public opinion and pressure Israeli leadership into launching a massive retaliation. And that's exactly what many fear, a spiral of revenge that could lead to a wider regional war. Already, Israeli artillery has targeted several suspected Hezbollah positions along the border, and airstrikes have hit areas near Baalbek in eastern Lebanon. The Lebanese army has gone on alert, while the United Nations peacekeeping mission, UNIFIL, has urged both sides to exercise maximum restraint. But on the ground, restraint seems to be fading fast. Israeli tanks and infantry reinforcements have been spotted moving toward the northern front. Military analysts say this could signal preparations for a potential ground incursion, a move that would dramatically escalate the situation. For Hezbollah, the ambush is being portrayed as a message that any Israeli attack will be met with force. For Israel, it's a warning that the northern front may be entering a new, unpredictable chapter. International observers are watching closely. If Israel retaliates too strongly, it risks dragging Lebanon and potentially Iran deeper into the conflict. But if it holds back, its deterrence credibility could be shattered. Caught in the middle, civilians on both sides are bracing for the worst. In northern Israel, families are evacuating border towns. In southern Lebanon, villagers fear incoming airstrikes. The atmosphere is one of dread, a sense that the fragile balance of the past few years has just been broken. What happens next will depend largely on Israel's response. Historically, the IDF has never allowed such a devastating attack to go unanswered. But this time, the stakes are higher than ever. With Gaza still smoldering from months of warfare and domestic unrest shaking Israeli politics, the government faces immense pressure to act decisively, yet also to avoid dragging the country into a two-front war. Some voices inside Israel's security establishment are calling for caution, arguing that Hezbollah is baiting Israel into a larger conflict that could benefit Iran strategically. Others insist that failing to respond with overwhelming force would invite even more attacks. The coming hours will be crucial. Every move, every statement, every airstrike will determine whether this becomes a brief flare-up or the beginning of a regional conflagration. One thing is certain, the Middle East has entered another dangerous moment. A single ambush, deadly and precise, has shaken one of the most powerful militaries in the world, and the shockwaves are already spreading far beyond the battlefield. As we await official updates, one question hangs over everything. Will this be remembered as an isolated attack or as the spark that ignited a new war? Time will tell. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.